It's the Tuesday night crit, the B race. We're joining in the middle of it. And if I recall, the scenario here is that we have a very strong rider in a solo breakaway ahead of us. You can see that the race is really broken up in that there are only a few riders in this group with us, so we are part of a breakaway here, chasing after the lead breakaway. Now, if I screwed that up, I'll correct that later. There were a lot of hard efforts in this ride. Also, one of the favorites is the guy right in front of me there in the Bicycles Plus kit. And here's me going to the front. And yeah, we'll see pretty quickly here what's going on. We're into the headwind right now. And looking at the rider on the right, I guess that's probably a lapped rider. And I think the rider we're chasing is up ahead. Fidel. So, I thought perhaps a theme of this race is talking about teamwork and what teamwork is like in racing and what it means and so forth. You can see the group coming back together a little bit as we've slowed down. My pull was not a on fire pull, so to speak. I'm trying to conserve my energy. These are my teammates up here in the front doing work, chasing. So as the most represented team in this race, we have a certain responsibility when we are not represented to do work to get back on to win the race. Now, I think racing on a team is a lot of fun. And I've had the experience going both ways of being on a team where nobody else raced with me because they lived elsewhere. And I had success. I got second place in my very first crit that I ever did. I got first place. This was in the C crit a couple of years ago. So it wasn't like I didn't have success in terms of podiums. But then that gets to how you define success. Here's Mike, my teammate, putting in a strong pull, Lynn right behind me. And if all you define your success is podiums, you could very well potentially have success. But the fun of being on a team is that there's more than one way to define success. And that way is that your team did well, or moreover that you helped your team, that you did something that really, helped a teammate win or get on the podium. And so the way that I would put it is, if you are on a team, there are many ways to win. If you are racing by yourself, there are just a few ways to win. So for example, racing by yourself, you may feel it's a win that you put in a good move, even if you didn't win, or you did your very best, or you had a fitness breakthrough, something like that. But the fun of strategy, being on a team, I think makes it a lot more fun. Because you're thinking in terms of the hive mind. What are my teammates doing? What should I be doing? There's strategy involved in that. So it takes the experience to a different level. And after a while, I think you come to realize that none of this really matters. Nobody really cares about the podiums. It's about the experience and the fun of competition. And, some people like checkers, some people like chess. I think racing on a team is a bit more like chess, in my opinion. So, racing on a team's a good time. So, we're still chasing, and the guy ahead of us, Fidel, very strong, Cat 4. I would say he is a kind of like a Cat 2 in a Cat 4 status as a young guy. He'll be upgrading up the line very quickly. I expect that next year he'll be racing as a 2, and I expect eventually he'll be a Cat 1, and not only a Cat 1, but a very successful Cat 1. He's got a lot of talent, and so I think at this point, Fidel has decided he's not going to try to go solo all the way to the end, and he's pulled the plug on his break attempt, and we've been doing this chasing. So what we're going to see here is, eventually here, I'm going to point out how I lose the race. And so that will be, I think, illustrative moment. Here we are back into the headwind. Seems like every time we go into the headwind, obviously we go a little slower, but also the efforts slow down. So here's the catch. He's rested. One of the questions I have in mind is, should we have attacked right at this moment? I talked to Lynn about this afterwards. His opinion was that Fadil had slowed down, was rested, and was perfectly able to respond to any attack that might go. And here is Lynn putting in a little bit of effort. Now, of course, not an all-in effort, but Fadil's quickly on his wheel. He's not even waiting for the rest of us to close that gap. I was willing to let that gap open and have Lynn try to ride away. Again, that would take the pressure off the rest of us in the group. So the guys to watch here are the guy right in front of me, Fadil, and the guy right behind me. I think if I'm pronouncing or remembering his name correctly, Borowski. Very strong rider, although I don't really know him well. So he's kind of like the guy in pickup basketball that comes that you don't really know if he's a good, you think he's a pretty good player, but you don't, how does he shoot? Does he like to dribble to his right? Does he dribble to his left? All the things that go into feeling out the strengths of a rider you get from experience. So again, Fadil doesn't want to be second wheel. I'm perfectly okay with Lynn riding off the front, and the two guys that I'm most concerned about watching, Borowski there puts in an attack. Fadil goes and joins him, and let's see, I think this is the point where I had yelled at Lynn to go, and he wasn't in a position to respond, and there it is, the winning breakaway. I missed it. I should have gone. The rest of the race will be chasing, and maybe I should be going right now. Why am I not going? That's one of the things that you ask yourself after a race, or even during it. You're like, for example, you might find yourself at the back of the group, and you're like, I should be at the front. Why am I not going to the front? Why am I maintaining this poor position? In general, if you follow those instincts that are telling you danger, danger, you'll probably be better off, in my limited experience. There was a Cat3 meme, that's an Instagram account, and he recently had a post where he was making fun of people doing these videos, these GoPro videos, like they're, Cat3, Cat4, literally it was about posting up their weekly night crit videos of their 12-man fields, giving racing tips, given their lack of podium finish in X number of tries. It was pretty funny. Kind of relates to my video. I guess the only difference is once in a while I'll make a podium, but yeah, I don't claim to be an expert in any of this stuff, and it's just for fun. I'm not certainly making any money doing this or monetized or anything like that. So I'm on the front now. So this isn't where I want to be. And Galindo puts in an attack there. He senses the danger. Feels like this is a winning move that's off the front. If he can stay away and perhaps make it to them, that's a podium place for him. And the question is, the remaining guys here that are up here, can we work together to try to pull this back? One of the curses of being a bit of a sprinter, I think, is you're always fairly confident, depending on the field and the circumstances, that you could do pretty well if it comes to a bunch sprint. And certainly being a sprinter, if you're a decent, good sprinter, you're going to have a lot more podiums than the decent, good time trial specialist, diesel engine / breakaway specialist. 5 laps to go. I think my lap counter is not working. I'm going to have to check that out, experiment. So you're going to end up with more podiums. There'll be just more circumstances in which you can win or be on the podium. And that means that there are times that you should go and not bank on the group coming back together that maybe you don't. And it's a strategy. For example, if you have a big team, strong team, maybe you hold your powder in reserve for the team so that you are capable of pulling off that sprint, and you don't want to be on the front chasing. You don't want to be getting in and out of breakaways. Let me at this point put up the xert profile. So the very top line in that graph here is the maximal power available, which is the same thing as the blue number at the bottom left, and that shows my MPA over time. So you can see that most of the time the MPA was below the peak power, indicating that was never fully recovered during the entire race, meaning that I spent a lot of efforts over FTP and never just absolutely sitting in, rested at full maximal or close to maximal power available, which would be in my case about 1340 watts or so. The gentleman right in front of me, Mr. Gibson in the green kit, he's an example of a breakaway specialist, and in the A race just after this he almost won. He came within 100 meters or so of winning and got on the podium for a third place in the A race, which is a tremendous accomplishment. So super strong rider, but the time trialing / breakaway specialist physique or style, or if that's your strength, it lends itself to a certain kind of riding and risk taking, going for breakaways versus the sprinter. So that's one thing I really need to work on, is breakaways, increasing my FTP, my ability to suffer at a high number of watts, also increasing my efficiency. That's really important. So here we are, 4 laps to go. And we're not really making very good progress here in terms of catching the riders in front, although they are not so far that it would be impossible to bridge. I don't remember exactly where. You might be able to, I'll put, the full video will be linked in the comment, in the description below. But at one point, Scott Braden, the guy right behind me in the blue Windsor kit with the big W, he was saying, if you go, you better go now, referring to me trying to bridge up, like it's still doable. And that was on my mind. Scott's racing for himself. He doesn't have a teammate in this ride. And you're going to see this awesome move that Scott pulls off in the last lap. So that's worth the price of admission right there. The old man, sorry Scott, I don't mean to say like old man, but like old man, wily old man move that was really pretty cool. Animated the race. You'll see that. It's frankly, it's like right here, but it's on the last lap. So this is Toby in front of me. He was just on the wattage ride on Saturday that I did, the video before this one. And you can see that it's not Pack that's taking up the pacemaking, my team, at this point. My team is in the yellow and the red. So this is where I decide, well, what the heck? We have no impetus in our group. Can I make this bridge? And, I'm putting in a substantial effort here. You're seeing 600 watts, 700 watts. Certainly not going to hold that for a very long time. Taking that turn at 30 miles an hour and trying to cover the distance here to the 2-man breakaway. Now the calculus here is maybe I can win third place with a bunch finish of the remaining guys. I have pretty good confidence that that would be possible. And you can see the breakaway there ahead of me. I guess, what is that gap? Like 15 seconds, 20 seconds? At this point, I was like, ugh, can't make it. I'm not going to be able to make it. Those two guys working together, just me. My heart rate's up. You know, I rarely hit over 170. I don't know if I should have kept going or not. You know, if I keep going, I could potentially win. Slowing and stopping at this point meant that I gave up on winning, and I resigned myself to the just trying to compete for third place. So, I don't know. I'm still wondering what I should have done. Part of me wishes that I had kept going, because who cares about third place? Winning is so much better than third place. There's an argument that you should always do what it takes to win versus settling for third place, fourth place, fifth place, in the points, whatever. But of course, if you do that, you potentially sacrifice all chances of a good placement. And the other question is, was that a good move for my team? Well, I don't know. Certainly, when I was off the front of this bunch, then my teammates would not be on the front working, or they shouldn't be, they weren't, and other people were having to put in work, if in fact they were chasing. And I don't know if they were chasing or not, because I pulled up and just waited for them. And at this point, I am recovering. My MPA is increasing there on the bottom left. And I want to get to full maximal power before the end, before the sprint, so that I can respond. And there could be an attack at any point here, because you got a lot of guys that they don't like their chances in a sprint, and they're going to need to make a move well before the sprint in order to get third place. So boom, Lin goes. If you're watching the wattage video, my last video, so last Saturday, he pulled off the same move, which is, I'm in the bunch here, he attacks, I sit in, and everyone else has to respond. So we are at just, the bell lap is coming up here. So, you know, it's like a lap and a third into this. Lin attacks. He attacks with the tailwind, now going into a crosswind. So Galindo, he wants third place. He doesn't want to let that guy just go up the road. He attacks from the back, gaps us, and we have to put in a response to him. And this guy right in front of me, I wish the GoPro were higher. You could see how arrow he gets when he gets really down. I was like, man, this guy is glued to his top tube. There was no draft behind him. Now I've got a friend, cycling internet virtual friend, who's Japanese, and also I have Japanese heritage, you know, saying that typically a lot of the Asian guys, of which I count myself, have fast twitch. And I was impressed by this guy's fast twitch. Look how low he gets, and he responds very quickly to this. And I was thinking, this guy might be my biggest competition in the sprint. So Toby is putting an attack here into the headwind, but the two wheels here, we've matched him. And again, I have a teammate right in front of me up there. I'm not going to work. I'm not going to pull him back. And we had a scenario here. There's Scott's move I was talking about, coming up from the rear. We had slowed down. We're being tactical. He goes up the inside, and now we're guttered. So this inside position here on the left means that there's a crosswind here, and so we're getting very little draft from Scott. And so forth. And so Scott is chasing Lin. You can see Lin up there. He's made the turn. He's about to make this left-hand turn. At this point, I thought we would probably catch Lin. I was thinking he was definitely going to get caught. And so as I'm turning left here, this is about very close to where I choose to sprint. I'm still on this wheel right in front of me. He's got some sprint to him. And so I decide to go right here. Now the question is, am I dragging someone up to Lin? And so we'd had this discussion before, a similar circumstance where I was the one in front, and I was like, maybe you should let somebody else chase. Now the problem with that is it's a gamble. because perhaps somebody else goes. Anyway, I can definitely see why a person in my position would just go. You've got to go. And in the roll up there, I saw that Lynn that Lynn could get third. And I looked back and I saw that I had a good gap and that they weren't going to catch me. I yelled at Lynn to go. And I sat up and Lynn rolled across third. I rolled across fourth. I think it's a great effort by Lynn. He deserves the podium. Um, I think I could have passed him. I would have passed him. I slowed down. And then that's, I think, part of teamwork, which I brought up in the first place. Like, it's not all about placing. It's about the team. And it's about good feelings on the team and guys getting rewarded for the great moves and efforts that they do. Lynn's certainly put in work unselfishly for me, so uh, um, you know, I think it's great and great team effort. I wish we got third and fourth. I wish we'd gotten first and second, but those other guys, they're super strong and they put in the right moves at the right time. So it was a fun race on a kind of blustery, windy day. It was about maybe 10 miles per hour was the forecast, but it felt a little stronger than that. Of course, it always does on the bike, right? So anyway, I hope you got something out of this on the B race Tuesday night, Richardson, and fun racing. See y'all later. Bye-bye.